With that, there should be sound. Oh, there is sound. Okay. Very good. Very good. There's sound now. And now why is my camera, what is happening here? Uh huh. Let me see. Let me see if I can fix this. Well, can you like also why am I so gray? Um exactly. There's all the camera stuff there. That's kind of a strange thing. Let me see. Let me see if I can fix this. That's a weird that's a weird thing. Okay, so I'm gonna. I don't think I'm shooting in RAW, but maybe I'm shooting in RAW. That would explain. I always feel like my paintings are much more colorful than they are actually here. Let me take this off. Off goes the lens. On goes the new lens. Okay, here we go. So here is. We have. We're gonna fix this. Why? Why on earth is this happening? Okay, so I need to go. Don't mind me. This is absolutely stuff that is worth figuring out pre going live. Also, why is like the camera? Maybe what happens if I go menu? Oh boy, it's about to get messy. Menu. Oh. Oh yeah, it might be under display. So, for the record, I can't see. Like the camera is blank. Only the screen is visible. So we're gonna figure this out together. We are gonna be painting orcas today, and I have a tiny sketchbook review. It is so worth us figuring this out. But okay, that is needs to be auto. No, that needs to be. So let's do auto white balance. That feels about right. Neutral, creative style, vivid, standard, standard. Oh, wow, okay. All right, we're fixing this stuff. Wow, so I've been like filming basically like gray mush this entire time. Well, we'll do standard then. And I need to figure out why is it displayed like this? What is happening? Oh, it's HDMI. Hold on. Okay, I can do this. Wait. HDMI. There's okay. This is literally not even looking at the camera. This is how. All right. So HDMI. It's one of these. Unfortunately, I can't see any of them. Okay. Not you. Not you. Not you. HDMI. Slideshow. That's kind of what we're seeing here. View mode. No. 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 Oh no. How do I go back? Go back. Go back. Yes. Okay. I'm perfectly covering the settings here. And that's not view mode. What did I do here? We're gonna try to. Okay, here we go. No, it's something. There's something way. It's like you've got to change it to. Oh boy, what is it? HDMI. No, no, no. It's all in monitor brightness. It's called. There's a thing. It's like you've got to set it to HDMI monitor. Oh, there you go. HDMI settings. Here we go. HDMI resolution, output. Oh, interesting. 60. HDMI display info on output, TC output. I don't know what that is. Control from HDMI. I don't know what that is. You know what? I have no idea what's going on. Let's try it again. When in doubt, turn it off and turn it on again. Oh, now it goes blank. Well, switch cameras maybe? When in doubt, switch it out. No, no, no. we're going so strong here. I wonder if this will fit into that. All right, we're gonna be doing. Don't mind me. Okay, now this is disconnected, and now, like I said, this is absolutely stuff that you definitely want to be doing during the live instead of painting. It's always good to do like technology. People love a watercolor attempt. All right, so this goes there. This gets to click in here. This poor camera just froze itself last night too because I took it into negative 10-degree weather. There's a chance that I just like froze it to oblivion. Does that not click in? Okay, that doesn't. Well, we can at least find out. We're about to find out. Here we go. Ready? HDMI plus this. The March chill has truly been brutal. Anger. It really has, hasn't? I mean, it's been a cold one. Although I feel like I was complaining so much last year about how warm it was. This is just kind of payback. Jen can attest. Okay, so this is now on. Let's. Okay, it's very dark, but look at that. Okay, so this is functioning. I just need to make it happen. Ta-da! Okay, great. Look at that. For some reason, this works. But I now need to fix. This is the wrong. But this is the wrong thing. So I'm just gonna. Put this over here. Oh, sorry. Here's a. All right. Let me just. I'm gonna grab. Spring, Ontario. It's like, what do the hobbits say? They're like, yeah, we've had winter, but what about second winter? Okay, we have the toolbox to now undo the various things. Okay, what I'm doing now is I am unscrewing the base plate of one camera. We're going to rescrew on the base plate of another camera, and then we're going to call that good. All right, so here's this. Yeah, it's all gonna work out. It's all gonna work out. Yesterday, though, if you did catch it yesterday, I did stream in negative 10-degree weather for 3 hours, and it worked. Like it actually, everything functioned. The hands. Ooh, where's that lens out? The hands were there. Yeah, I don't know. I felt very accomplished and unfrostbitten, which is deeply exciting. Okay, so we have this. Now I'm just unscrewing this plate. The crazy thing is I was honestly thinking this morning, like, do I need another camera? And now I'm wondering if, like, maybe I just need a new brain. But they don't sell those at B&H. So you just keep on buying cameras instead. We are going to be sketching Orca today, by the way. But I also have some fun sketchbooks to share, some really cool stuff. All right, so this gets to go here. Just like that. Oh! Look at that. Oh. Hold on. Something else is playing in my ears. Ah, there we go. Okay. Nope, that was me. All right. Okay. Nope, that was definitely me. All right, everybody. So we have that. We have this. Now let's just go see if we are auto white balance. And now where is our color style? Is this like look good enough in colors? Movie setting. Okay, well there we go. Okay, very cool. All right, well let's get into it here. Hi everybody. I'm gonna go do a quick intro here in just 1 second. But instead, I was like, you know what they probably want to see is man fusses with tech. That's what I really should make the title of all of these things. Okay, Jen, are we good? I'll probably take you out of my ears, and then we'll jump into it. Okay. All right, bye, Jen. Thank you. Jen, producer extraordinaire, in the ears, making sure things run smoothly. And then I'm like, hold my beer and watch this. I'll show you running smoothly, or lack thereof. All right. Hello, everybody. Okay, let's get into this. I have some really, really fun stuff to share today. So we have all of this, some of this, some of this, some of this, some of this. Okay, and I'll just do a little one of these. Okay, awesome. How is everybody doing? I'm just gonna check on YouTube. We'll like officially start in 3 minutes. Some arbitrary something. Oh, can't check on YouTube. I've bricked the phone. Has anybody tried the brick before? It's like a little thing that I can show you. It's like a physical little thing that if you want to use whatever you deem that you don't want to use, like in my case, it's social media, you can just click it and you can't have access to it. So like I have YouTube bricked, and because it turns out I have zero willpower on my own, and so in order to like keep things away, I have to brick it and then basically keep this like outside in the negative temps. It's a strange thing. All right. Okay. So, hello. Let's make some sketches. All right. Here we go. So, hello everybody. I'm Max Romey. I am a painter and filmmaker. Is that the kind of intro I need? Dion is asking for an intro. I feel like actually no. We got a bunch of new people. I think Maya, the most wonderful sweet person ever, sent a bunch of people our way. So I think there was actually a bunch of new people. So I should introduce myself a little bit. I don't always sketch outside in the wilderness. My name is Max. I'm a painter, a filmmaker, I'm a watercolorist here in the Shedio in Anchorage, Alaska, and we are going to be doing some paintings today. We've done a really fun series kind of on the backyard animals, and I'm just painting through them. So we've done like the manatee, and we've done the, let's see, what else have we done here? This sketchbook is a bit of a mess. We've done Stellish J. We've done the, I feel like there's some more in here. Did I just like lose some of them? Anyway, we're going to be adding to this today, which will be a real fun thing. I was thinking, I am very persuadable if there's a different idea, but I was thinking we do the orca, or do squirrel, martin, or kingfisher. We've actually already done the kingfisher, so I think it would have to be, I don't know, I think an orca would be really fun to do. But we can stew on it for a second. There's also a coloring book on our website if you're interested in supporting us and or want something to trace. I'll show you how that tracing works. But first, I got to share a couple kind of fun updates here. So if you remember, where is it? Last time I was in the studio, we were talking about Orca's good. Just checking here. Huge fan. Oh, thank you. Interesting. Okay. Sorry, on the YouTube side. Make art content, planning on switching to watercolor painting. Do it. It's the gateway. Watch out. Watercolors. Oh, sorry. Go off on a tangent here. Love watercolors so much, but I also hate them. Oh my gosh. Like, I don't even know how much easier my life would be if I was into like acrylic or even gouache. You know, like if I could just open up a sketchbook and then paint exactly what I want to sketch, and then it would be that way, I could capture anything. The stuff we could paint. Oh, it'd be incredible. But no, it's like watercolor. And the reason I think I keep on coming back to watercolor is because they're just so tricky. Like they're so simple and they're so basic, but then also like, it's like this crazy learning curve. Get some paper here. It's like, I think I'd have more scrap paper than I do. Here we go. Like this is the learning curve of watercolor. Like it is, let's see, here's time. Here is I don't know, goodness. GW, good at watercolor. And it's like, oh, let's see, there we go. It's like, scoot that over here. So you have like the time and goodness, and it's like with watercolor, in like a really short amount of time, it takes like 5 or 6 sketches. You get really good really quick. And then there's like this like slow incremental like little plateau up here, and we're talking like 80 years, and then you die, and then you don't get very good after that. So it's like this, but this like this tiny little 25%, which will take you 40 or 50 years. It's like addicting, you know? It's like you're slowly figuring it out, and you're so close, but you're never quite in control, but then you want to be in control. Anyway, I'm very glad that you're getting into watercolor. Welcome to the pursuit. But okay, so a couple fun updates here. First off, if you remember from last time, we were talking about accordion notebooks and trying to capture this really cool race that's going on next week. I got permission to chase it down. So I'm going to show you the reveal here. But basically, this is the plan, is to do a really, really, really cool, like kind of foldable painting thing. It'll be trying to capture this entire race in the form of an accordion notebook. That happened here. Some crazy ideation. Just had to keep you up in the loop. I will be posting a bunch about it, probably live streaming a tiny bit of it, but I can't wait to be able to share more of that. And this is the actual size. So we're going to be doing a huge one, and these things are massive. Like, check this out. It's going to be so cool. Yeah, I'm so excited. But like, look at the amount of paper that is here. The amount of paper. There's so much. Whoa. So that's the plan, is to fill this thing over the course of a race, and then do kind of a cool intro sketch into it. So we'll give it a go, but this is all your fault for encouraging me on these wild, crazy ideas. Okay. Also, sorry, really quick, I probably should post on Instagram that we're doing this. I'm not the social media type. I mean, I post about it, but oh my gosh, it is so confusing. Okay. Here's what it's going to look like. All right, we're going live. Hello, and today we are going to be painting an orca. So if anybody wants to join, we're going to be sketching an orca live right now. And I just quickly post that to Instagram. If I don't seem professional today, it's because I don't feel professional today. But we're going to be doing some really fun sketches, so it's all worth it. It all counts. Okay, quickly posting that here. Done. And, oh shoot, I gotta find a link. What is a Twitch link? YouTube link? We'll just quickly grab this. Share. Copy link. It's all more fun with friends, you know? So we're just gonna grab a couple of them. Paste. Link to the live stream. Okay, and let's get to it. Curious about the sketchbooks near the drawing. Yes. Okay, so there's so many updates today. So I've got a sketchbook review for you. I've got an update on a really cool project, and then we're going to paint an orca and where orcas are from. Everything, it is a win-win-win-win-win. I feel like, gosh, we should also figure out which orca we're going to be sketching too. I feel like that's kind of key. Okay, done, and here we go. All right, that's been posted. Okay, which should we start with? Do you want to hear the kind of fun, exciting update, or the tiny little sketchbook? It's gonna be a really fun mix of stuff. It is. It really is. It's been too long. And so yesterday, also, here's a quick update. So yesterday, if you got a chance to see, we did a really fun live painting class. Not class, but like a live painting outside. and it was actually part of a like art exhibit. So in Germany there was a like actual art exhibit. They actually invited me to Munich, and I could not go because children and just timing. But they were super cool, and I was like, what if I do a live stream instead and send you the actual sketchbook? So I sent them the actual sketchbook, and then I did a live stream. It was supposed to be in the mountains, too much snow, but we made some really interesting sketches. This one, like after taking it home, has virtually melted. All of the trees were much more put together, but actually I kind of love the look. Like this is what the winter would have looked exactly like if you had kind of taken off your glasses. And even like this right here, like so accurate in some ways. So I actually really like, and it smells a little bit juniper-y because it's all in gin. Did a couple more little ones. I don't feel like I made anything like particularly excellent, but painting outside is more performance art than anything. It's like the fact that you did it is what is there. And yeah, the feeling was really soft, and it makes me excited to try some stuff in the rain too, on purpose. Even a little kind of float plane there. But an attempt was made, which is really cool, and it was just cool. It was like it was live streamed in a gallery in Munich, and then there was the like my artwork was there, so people could flip through a sketchbook, and then they could even type, and I was on the other side. It was just like a cool, yeah. And this is just painting in Alaska in the winter is either inside or in pain. Those are kind of your two options. Okay, I'm gonna get to these in a second because this is really fun. But the other fun update is, have I told you about this like podcast idea? Maybe. Did I get any feedback from the gallery in Germany? Not yet. Well, it's I think late at night right now. So they're probably just working off the hangover now of the post gallery success party. No, I don't think Germans get hungover. They know how to drink beer, but I'm excited to hear. Yeah, I've gotten a few people who have reached out, but it'll be really curious. I feel like there's other ways where I could do it. You can almost do it where it's like you could have somebody type what they want to see or something. Like I could be somewhere wild, and then they could tell me what they want me to paint. But that's just kind of live streaming anyway. But the concept, first time doing a concept, I think it's got some real potential. This is really fun. I haven't shown this yet, but it's been my dream to do something like a podcast. And a lot of podcasts are videos, so like I'd film it, so it'd be on YouTube, but it'd also be something that you could just listen to as a podcast, which apparently now you can also watch. But my idea was my grandmother inspired me to paint by leaving behind these sketches of these amazing places. So I want to fill this book with paintings of the most incredible places around the world, and then ask one person at a time to help me with one page at a time. So I sit down with the person, they get one page, that's it, and then they tell me the place that they'd want on that page, which is almost impossible task. Like if you could boil it down to one place, if you only got one place in a sketchbook, what would that one place be? Like honestly, like I'm kind of curious actually if you know offhand. But this one is where I could just sit down with them, and then while they're talking about this place, I sketch it, sometimes with the aid of a reference photo, and then we're just talking about it, and then at the end I get to reveal it and share it to them. But then it just kind of is a catalyst for all these cool stories. So this is the first one I did with Sarah Histand, who's a really cool local Anchorage kind of community builder and just like absolutely amazing athlete. And so this is the first take, but then my hope is that I can just kind of keep on doing, more podcasts and fill it up and see what people think. And by the end of the year, just have like an entire book just full of these places and stories. Would be kind of a cool thing. Yeah. Also, welcome, AirTac. I think you should definitely get back into watercolor. It's not that scary too. We're gonna do a tutorial today. I'm gonna show you how easy it is to paint through a really quick sketch of a orca. It's gonna be a ton of fun. But first, I should show you these tiny little sketchbooks. This is not an ad, but I did not pay for these. They did send me these tiny sketchbooks. That being said, I did pay for this thing, which is a whole lot more expensive. So I have skin in the game. I'm not just using the free stuff, but it's also because this was from my local art store. If you can, always buy from your local art store. It's often more expensive, but like they're catalysts for community. They're so good. Okay, so this is, yeah, you can zoom in here. They are teeny weeny. This is Etcher. They make a lot of really great paper, but they make these really innovative tiny notebooks too. But they made this teeny little one, which is just so freaking cute. It's also got a good hand feel, to be honest. Like it changes kind of how you hold a sketchbook, and it changes a little bit how you paint. This one, like actually pretty functional. This is like literally something you can toss in a pocket. This is normally what I use for my notes. So you can kind of see like, you know, and this is thin paper, so it works well for notes and stuff. But these tiny ones are so interesting in like their feel. Haven't done anything with this one. Here's a slightly bigger one. This is approximately the size of a trail tile, I believe. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're ever looking to do like, if you're ever like the only thing trail tiles are missing is being bound into a notebook, there's options for you. But yeah, they're cute. The reason I love trail tiles, I think, is because they are like, you know, same profile, but like I can share these with people and there's a little bit less pressure. I do love these, but they feel precious, and we literally made trail tiles because it's like we needed to paint, not to worry about whether that painting would ruin all of the rest or something like that. But yeah, they feel really great. But these two in particular are so fun. This has got to be, I don't know, 3 inches by 3 inches, maybe like 2.5 by 2.5. Used it for some notes with my Sarah interview, but like I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And then this one is like, okay, check this out. So I made a little tiny couple of sketches of some little tiny Iditarod dogs. And just it's so fun. It's like, it's so small. You can't be precious. Like you can't make it perfect. Even this size, you can get close to making things like pretty fancy. And like this size, you know, this is trail tile size. You can make a full on piece of artwork this way, but this way it's too tiny. It's too tiny to be like any real fanciness. But in doing so, like I love just like the freedom that kind of gives, you know, like this. They're not perfect. They're just little running doggos, and like there's just something I just love about that. Anyway, very curious to keep on trying a few of these. I am real excited about this, and the accordion notebook too. They did send one of those, so I'm excited to try some of those. Curious about your take. What do you think? I mean, is that unfunctionally tiny, or for, you know, for the space of one of those little notebooks, you could have 4 of these. Think about it. You could like 4 tiny notebooks. How fun would that be? They are not cheap though. If they were the cost, if they were 1/4 the cost of this, oh man, everything would be tiny. All right, let's dive in here. So we are going to be doing some of this. I think the amazing, calming storytelling idea. Oh, I like that too. Cute subject. They are good pocket size. And like, yeah, sorry, I feel like they're fun for like little individual things too. Like in this case, just all little dogs, you know, all little sled dogs. Just my plan is to fill this entire thing with little sled dogs. But yeah, like you could have one with sled dogs. You could have one with cats. You could have one with interesting leaves that you see on the side of the trail. You could have one with fun pebbles that you find or whatever it is. And they're small enough that you could literally just have like you could just have a pocket full of them. I've tried to do this with like notebooks. I've been like, some of the notebooks back there are literally, they have like 6 leaves or something like that. And it's like, I'm like, this is going to be my leaf notebook. And then I do about 6 and get bored. But these are tiny enough. I think you could actually pull those off and carry like 4 or 5 of them in a row if you wanted. Okay, so we're going to do the Orca, I believe, today. So I'm going to just fill in an Orca. Let me just slide this off. We're going to fill in an Orca. Oh, Telluride. We're going to fill in an Orca here. These are trail tiles. These are, talk about shameless promotion. We make these. and they're excellent. But anything that gets you painting is excellent. That's really what matters and counts. I think they'd be adorable, but I'd lose them in a day. Yeah, no, I think that's probably an accurate feeling. But what a wonderful thing for somebody else to find, you know? This is called a light board right here. And so we have this little backyard animals coloring book. Just make sure that you print it single-sided. Look at this. As soon as you make that double-sided, it just shines right through. But that's okay. You can also do this on like a window or something like that. But I'm just gonna quickly put this here. I'm gonna make a quick sketch of this here orca, and we're going to paint it in. So let me just turn off my big light here. There we go. Now I can actually see. And I'm just gonna move it so that it is fully exactly where I want it to be. You can also just do this with a window or any real source of light. You can put just something bright and white like the Google home screen on an iPad and run that through. But it's probably a little too sharp on the fin there. That's okay. And we're just gonna go fill in our little orca right here. Here we go. Try not to paint the martin that is below it. And just scooting around. There we are. And a little bit down there. A little bit over there. It's close, but you gotta remember the eye here and then the little spot right there. And technically it's usually like another, is this one? Oh yeah, there's that little spot right there. Oh yeah, there's this one and this one. Okay, I've got all of those. See if I can line it back up here. The outline is often the most difficult part to do. So it's, if you're ever worried about like using something like this, don't. It's totally okay to use a light board or a trace or whatever it is. Anything that gets you painting is worth it, I think. And it's just, yeah. I feel like there's this idea that you know, if you want to be a painter, you have to be a good drawer, and that's not always the case. Sometimes you need to start, and it's okay. All right, now I'm just missing a little bit of this. And there we go. Is that it? Yeah, that's it enough. I can always use this and check it out a little bit more if I need to. Here is our orca. Right there. Ta-da! Nice and simple. We're just going to kind of work this back right here. There we go. Okay. If you want, you can always add a little bit of cross-hatching. But that's like, at this point, you know, this is going to be a pretty dark animal, so it's not like this is going to be too visible in any way, shape, or form. But just kind of fun to do. All right, here we have one little orca that we're going to sketch. I am going to record this for YouTube, so that way, like, if you have art supplies right now, amazing. If you don't, that way you'll be able to kind of rewatch it. So let me go grab stuff I actually need to paint with. How have we been doing the others? Are we using, which palette are we using? I think we're using this little palette here. A lot of people were feeling like they needed to buy the really fancy paint, and that seriously bothers me. So I was using it with the unfancy paint. Unfortunately, let's see. How many sketchbooks does, oh, there we go. There we go. We'll use this. Let me show you. We can do it. We can do a fancy or we can do it unfancy. And we're going to be painting this in, and then we're going to add in a background for that as well. So let's quickly look one of those up, and then we're going to jump in here. Also, hello from DC. Where's everybody coming in from today? Do we have? I know we've got some chilly latitudes happening here. Is anybody else dealing with winter, or it's like has anybody found spring yet? Because we are buried under snow here. I think for our like location, I think we should do. I think we should do like maybe Bellingham. Yeah, let's do Bellingham. Yeah, let's do that. I love Bellingham. I went to school there, and they have lots of orcas. Occasionally, they have a few orcas. I should probably do some research here before I like actually say any of that stuff and get it wrong. Okay, I'm just gonna grab one of those. Okay, shall we get going here in 1 second? California, Hawaii. Okay, 2 of those places sound very warm. Weather has been decent. Yeah, okay. We went to California to like literally get oranges. Basically, we're just like we need to like stave off scurvy, and it was. I love Alaska, but it was hard to leave California. There's something about like having legitimate weather when you go back and it's -10. Alrighty then. Let's sketch this, shall we? I believe that I have what I'm looking for. And yes, all right. Let's get to it. Do I have what I'm looking for? I know what I'm looking for. Just need one. I want to make sure that I get the back right. That I feel like these are such cool animals. I want to do justice. I also need to look up a couple facts here because orcas have some pretty wild. They've got some pretty wild, like the name and everything. Let me see. Saving photos. Okay, history of an orca. For like the little tutorials, I sometimes like to just like get a little bit of fact in there. Let's see. History of orca name. Oh. Great. Okay. That's terrifying. Okay. Their name, I'll tell you once we start painting. There's a wild fact about their name. Okay, this is great. Um And then what I need is also to, I'm going to take a picture of that. Can you guess where orca comes from? The name orca? Because everybody's like, don't call them killer whales. That's not nice. There's a crazy story about the word where the word orca comes from. And then let me see. History of pod of orcas in Bellingham. The problem about doing this stuff live is like normally you kind of cut all these little pieces, but you don't want to. Okay, orcas, including both endangered southern resident J-pod and more frequent transient Biggs orcas, are spotted in Bellingham Bay, surrounding the Sailor Sea, often hunting marine mammals. Great. So J-pod, the endangered southern J-pod. They've been spotted in Bellingham. Okay, very cool. All right, shall we get to it? Do a little bit of painting here. Okay, good. Your orca drawing looks very accurate. Thank you. Okay. Leave it to the Canadians to get me right on that. And hello from Vancouver. Yes, these orcas, like, I think it's J-Pod. Anyway, the orcas, like, in Vancouver, at least I've seen locally, which is very, very cool. Washington, Manitoba, Vancouver. Hello from Nepal. No kidding. Wow, how cool is that? Oh my gosh. Very neat. All right, well, let's paint an orca. Orca. Let's see. Not familiar with the term orca, but apparently is a mix-up like dolphin. Let's see. The origin of the word orca, but apparently killer whale is a bit of a mix-up because they're more like a dolphin, not killer whales. Yeah, they're not cetaceans. They're porpoise, I believe. And Oregon transient pods come through Hawaii. How about your pods in Seward? You know what? You're right. There is. That's right. There are orcas here in Seward too. Yeah. What am I saying? I was thinking of sketching Bellingham orcas, but maybe I should be sketching Seward orcas. Okay. Seward orca pod. That's right. He did come there. Pod. It's not telling me. Okay. We're just gonna have to go to Seward and sketch some orcas. I think that's the only reasonable thing to do. All right, ready to do this? Here we go. Okay. And let's just zoom in a little bit here. There we are. Let me just make that a bit brighter here. That is the opposite of bright. Okay. Got this. Need a brush. If only I had some. Oh, and water too. Right, that's probably key. We made these fun new mugs. Excellent for water. Decent for drinking too, but excellent for water usage. You just got to kind of remember which are your drinking mugs and which are your water mugs, which I rarely do, and it is to my detriment. Okay. Hello from Calgary. First time here. Cozy vibes. Oh, I'm glad they're cozy. You missed all the man tries to figure out tack and fails. But tune in earlier next time because it happens every single time. It's wild. You'd think I have this figured out, but I don't. All right, this and this. Okay, ready to do this? More Canadians. Oh, they're everywhere. In my house too. My wife and sons are Canadian. So, and I've never really lived anywhere more than like, I don't know, maybe 50 to 60 minutes from the Canadian border, except for Alaska. Like there's only Canadian border, but it's 4 hours away because Alaska's gigantic. All right, welcome. Do we just get rated or something? I feel like it's like everybody's here. Hi. At least 3 of us. Okay, great. Hello, Canadians. Okay, well then we'll sketch some Canadian orcas. Actually, I believe this pod goes up to Canada too. They're dual citizens. All right. So gotta think here. So with this, just to give you the full lowdown here. So I'll record this for later watching. So you'll be able to find this on the Trailbound Sketches YouTube page and stuff like that. So I probably won't look at the chat too much here while I am painting. Just so that I can really make this as good as possible. And we're going to sketch this orca, and then right afterwards we're going to sketch the landscape that it's from. Maybe in Bellingham, because I have seen them there before. I haven't seen them in Seward yet. But I'm thinking what we need to do is just go to Seward and see orcas, because I believe they're there now. Let's see if we can make a field trip happen at some point. Okay, does that sound good? Also, thanks everybody for joining. I am... Oh my gosh, some good orca stories here. I am just way thrilled to be painting inside instead of outside. And if you haven't already, before I forget, we have a really amazing Discord channel. So if you're looking for that, don't post it on the chat because Jen is all about security on these things. But you can find it if you sign up for our newsletter. We send you the link. But it's if you're not part of it already, we've got a really cool Discord, just like the most wonderful humans who often do paint these really cool things, but are just so supportive and just that's where I go when I need inspiration. It's a good thing. All right, and also if you have a chance to subscribe, do any of those things, so appreciated. Field trip? Yeah, we're definitely going on a field trip. Sorry, let me get distracted. I think I'm kind of afraid to sketch lately too. So there's some real procrastination things happening here too. But yeah, we have the technology. We've bought in like a bunch of various things that let us do some really cool streaming. So whether it's like the podcast being able to go anywhere, the plan is to be able to take us on like kind of in the field. And the real plan, tell you this because we're close. The real plan is to not just like go paint in the field, but to go find my grandmother's sketches in the field. So to go track down where she was, because they only line up in one place, and then use that as a map to find out exactly where she was, and then stand in the same place and make the same sketch from the same rock with the same materials with the same sketchbook right next to me. That's the goal. Haven't pulled it off live yet, but just you wait this summer. You got to say this stuff out loud if you want it to happen. That's our plan, and then bring you along with us. So it'll be to the point where instead of me just like looking for some field or something that might have changed 40 years ago, it's all of us looking for some field. So that's the real field trip. We'll see how that goes. Okie dokie. Let's get this rolling here. This is my longest procrastination ever. Yes, I know it is, Jen. All right. Trailbound producer extraordinaire. Hold me to task. Let's do this. Everything works. Everything sounds good. And here we go. All right, today we're going to be sketching an orca. Here we have happy little one, kind of going for a fish there, although maybe he'll be wearing a salmon hat in a moment. Have it all traced out, and if we want, we could always put it in the water. We've done a few of these fun backyard animals so far, including a manatee and some other watery dwelling creatures. And so we're going to be doing a painting of the animal, and then we're going to do the landscape that it's from right afterwards. You can do one or both or none. But one kind of fun thing is to add a little bit of a background. So if you're interested in that, we can give it a try. All it takes is putting a little bit of a line around this initial trace. Of course, you can always find these traces on the Trailbound Sketches website. We have a backyard animal series if the sketching side of things is a little bit tough. And if it is, I just want to say you're not alone. I fear sketching. For some reason, it's like the outline is always the hardest part for me. So that's why I put that together in case you're looking for it. So here is a little bit of a line. Sometimes I like to just add some of that as a way, and then we'll fill that in with some sea color here in just 1 second. These are the colors I'm using today. We have everything from yellows to blues. Gosh, I should remember their names. But not using the fanciest, wildest, craziest paint today, because you don't need super fancy anything to make art. You just kind of need the gumption and the bravery to take that first brush stroke. So we're going to do one of those right now. Clean water also really helps, but like doesn't it with everything in life? Okay, so we're going to start by going light to dark. So we're going to add all of the light sections first, because we're then going to paint over and over and over, and the darker it gets, they'll kind of hide any mistakes that we might have made. So I'm going to start by adding a little bit of this light section, like right here on the back dorsal fin, and kind of some of these down here. They're black and white, but they're not pure white, at least not with shadows. And I don't know how you'd light an orca where there are no shadows. I take a lot of cranes and a very patient orca. So I'm going to add a little bit of some blue, just a touch, just to kind of create a little bit of some depth. Not in all of it, but just enough right here and here. A little bit down here, maybe a bit up there. Just something like this. And then up here we have a bit of gray. So maybe I'll use black with a little bit of water, but I don't need too much anything. And watercolor is kind of hard, especially hard for you to see it when I have a silver pan like that. Watercolor is kind of a confusing thing because they don't show you that the water plays such a huge role. And we're painting a water animal, so it feels especially appropriate, but the water plays a massive role in that if you want something lighter, you just add more water. It will dry lighter, but this is black with a bit of water, and all of a sudden it is gray. So there's this big interplay between the paper and the water and all of that stuff, and if it ever feels like you don't quite get it right, it's okay to try again, and mistakes teach you a ton. So I added, and you can see quite a bit of a mess here, but that's okay because it is going to be kind of covered up here by the darkness that is the rest of the body. We want this to dry, so while we let this dry here, or I have a little bit of a heater here down below in the studio, I can just add it there. You can also use things like a hair dryer. You can use, if you have a sunny spot, just toss that next to the cat and the plants in the sun is a great way to do it. But we're going to kind of dry things in between each layer because that is going to keep things from kind of bleeding and sort of scooting into each other. Now for the actual painting of the landscape too, lots of choices here. I've started to tape the trail tile next to the landscape where the birds are from. So once that's dry just for a little bit, we're going to paint the landscape. There's a lot of different ways, and orcas are part of a healthy ecosystem, so there's a lot of different ecosystems we could pick. I'm probably going to choose Bellingham, Washington. I went to school there, even though I live in Alaska, and there's lots of orcas up here. I feel like I'm going to need to do a special project just for those. But the landscapes that these animals are from are so important too because they couldn't happen without them. So stay tuned if you want to. We'll try a landscape right after this. Okay. That should be dry. Maybe. We'll find out. Just going to do the old finger test. And just kind of see if it's not dry, then it will smudge and you'll ruin your painting. But if it is dry, you'll be fine. Kind of a hardcore test. Suppose you could also just use a piece of paper towel or something and just kind of see if any blots off, then it's wet and much less damaging. But we're going to add our water next if you want to do water. If not, skip this step, ignore it. And the reason is because my water is going to be less dark than the orca itself. So we're kind of thinking it's like a puzzle. Like what is the next darkest thing? All right, gonna get a little bit of this blue. Looks like I'm close to out of it. That's okay. Watercolor is a really, 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 really condensed medium. I mean, a little tiny palette like this is enough to fill, honestly, an entire trail tile full of paper. It's incredible how much you can get out of watercolor. That's one of the reasons I love it. There's lots of reasons that I find it frustrating, but I think that's also part of the reason I love it. Okay, so I'm going to add a bit of blue. I'm going to be relatively careful here. For instance, if I go like this, that's okay. You know, this right here is the dorsal fin is going to be so so dark that that's not really going to affect it. But the lightness I do want to be extra careful about. So I want to be so careful around the belly. And not the flippers so much. Those are going to be nice and dark. But yeah, it's these little areas that I'm going to be so careful as I kind of paint around them. I'm going to try to do this relatively quick because I want this entire layer to not have any hard edges. And that happens by just making sure that you don't kind of let part of it dry while the other part goes. Like I did just right there. So, but if I'm fast, I should be able to get this entire thing in while it's still wet. Okay, just a little bit there. It doesn't have to be all the perfect same thing. The water is often very different. You know, the difference between the top layer and the bottom layer is going to be like a lot of different shades and tones and colors. There we go. A little bit right there. And then if you want, you can kind of paint, or you can always flip this stuff over if that's easier to kind of reach part of the painting. Orcas do barrel rolls. This is no acrobatics that'd be any different for them. There we go. Now orcas, also known as killer whales, not actually a whale. A lot of people kind of get that mixed up, and why shouldn't they? They're the size. Honestly, they're bigger, I believe, than some whales, but I believe they're actually they're closer to a dolphin, so they might be. I'm not sure if they are technically a porpoise, but they're not a cetacean, I believe, which is the definition of a whale. And there are whales with teeth, and there's all kinds of semantics and reasons why they'd be slightly different, but they certainly are killers. as a lot of things that eat other things are. But these ones in particular are very, very, very good at that. Okay, I'm going to toss this down, see if we can just get a little bit of some dryness here. And if I am speeding stuff up a little bit, it's just to kind of get to both the landscape portion and also to, well, I have this really good habit of getting too lost in the weeds and the details and trying to make things perfect. And when I do that, I often overwork and kind of ruin my painting. So, like a lot of the backyard animals we've done, the ones that I like the most are actually where I'm able to really just go quickly. And so I try as much as I can just to quickly move through these sketches because it's so easy to kind of get lost in those details. But I say this because if you feel like you need to go a little slower, or if you need to try a few things or test something out or add a light layer and then decide that you want to go a bit heavier, that is totally normal and totally okay. I've been doing a lot of painting for a very long time, and I never want you to feel pressured to have to go a certain speed. It's really like painting is such a personal journey. Watercolor, it's a minute by minute experience. So for everybody, it's going to be different. Okay, give this a look. And you can see where it's kind of glistening. That's where it's still wet. But we might be fine because I think we might be past some of that, at least by the edges. That's all that matters. And the reason I don't want it to be too wet is I don't want to add a big chunk of black and have it just scoot out into the water. It would look like the orca's sort of dissolving or something like that. I also made my block intentionally go on this side because I love it when it looks like the animal sort of swimming out of the background. I just think that's just the coolest thing. So we're going to give that, and you can kind of see too, this is called a bloom. This is where I added more water than I needed, but I do love that texture. Isn't that just cool? It looks on purpose. It's not, but that is watercolor in a nutshell for you. All right, now the next step is going to be to add the color of our orca. You can see the eye here. That's all kind of about to disappear, but they're not just pure black. They are, I mean, as the light hits them, they're dappled. They have this really cool just shades, so they're not just like one tone. It's okay if you make them kind of just one tone, but we're gonna add all the colors of that orca, and we're gonna do it by using different types of water here. So right now, I'm just gonna make some watery lamp black. You can also use indigo. You can use anything that makes a nice dark color. You can mix a dark blue and brown. That'll make kind of a nice dark color. But we're not gonna try to just like paint them on too dark. If this goes wrong, you can always do that. It's always an option. And I'll zoom in here so you can really get a good look here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a bit of color down here, and then I'm gonna use water and kind of pull it back up, if that makes sense. And actually, we're gonna start with this little flipper right here. Make sure I don't mess that up too much. There we go. Like a little flipper, something like that. And this is going to be our first test. I'm rinsing off the brush right now. I'm blotting it out on a little piece of paper towel, actually. Whoops. Looks like I got some paint on my finger. That's right, just fingerprinting myself. You can even kind of blot a little bit of that excess water out on a paper towel, just so you get the perfect consistency, which is just not too much. And then I'm just going to paint water on the edge of this fin. And then I'm just going to paint a little bit and let them connect. Just like that. And the reason I'm doing it this way is then when I come in with like kind of a dark belly right there, then that fin will actually show up instead of kind of just disappearing into the orca. It should work a little bit better that way. Same with down here. If we want, we could start adding this one in too. We don't want to add this one until it's dry, so it's all kind of an order of operations. But we can add this fin in if we want. Just like that, piece by piece. And what's so kind of nice is we can always kind of come back in and add more if we need. There we go. Lovely. The next steps maybe I can even, if I want, I can even kind of separate that out a little bit. The next steps are we're going to basically add in the entire rest of the orca. So I'm going to let this one dry just for now. Oh, it kind of looks cool. Sort of a like tuxedo cat version of an orca. The next steps are going to be adding in the rest. So I'm going to let this dry. It's really quick. Right down here in my small furnace. But it's kind of an interesting fun fact. Orcas, if you don't know, they're often referred to as killer whales, and I've always heard people say, don't call them killer whales. That's not an appropriate term. They're a vital part of the ecosystem, and they're just doing what is natural. Also, they're not whales. Call them orcas. The term orca, I actually wrote this down so I could get it right, stems from the scientific genus Orcanus. And I always thought it was like, oh, it must mean like beautiful sea god or something like that. No, it's from Carl Linnaeus, and it translates to the Latin of belonging to the kingdom of the dead or demon from the underworld. I've also heard vessel of hell, I believe, is another one. But orca is like a way more metal term than killer whale. Killer whale is like the censored version. It's like saying darn it, to the real word or something like that. Orca is like a hardcore word because they saw the prowess of these mammals just like taking out big things. And to their credit, I mean, I wouldn't want to be a humpback whale. A lot of these things that do get predated on orcas, sometimes they'll just kill a whale by basically drowning it. They kind of keep them from going to the top. Just eat their tongue. So they're pretty aggressive little things. It's kind of like a wolverine. They got a lot of something in there, but both names allude to that. Both killer whales and orca basically call them like a pretty intense beastie, and so there's that to be appreciated. But they are a vital part of the ecosystem in that they have the role they play is so important. They eat things like sea otters and salmon, and what they do is they keep those populations healthy so that they don't go explode and have too many, which could then lead to the sea urchins being eaten, which could lead to too much bulk kelp, which could lead to all kinds of these things that just go through. And so if you're just joining now, we're painting an orca. We're letting it dry just really quickly for a little tutorial here, and then we're going to paint where it is from as well. So this should be just dry enough right now, and we are going to add just a little bit more of some of this lamp black here, and we are going to be just really quickly. This is, if I get too focused or stop talking, that's what's happened. This is kind of the biggest moment here. All of this has to be painted in basically all at once. We added our little flipper here so that way we can kind of come in something a little darker, getting the paint all squared away here, and we're just gonna hold our breath and just scoot. There we go. And see, because we added that in earlier, now that flipper is able to kind of stand out a little bit. But I don't want to make this section too dark. So I'm going to use some water. Might even add a little bit to the edge of this flipper here just to darken that up a bit. We're going to use some water, and we're going to just simply scoot around here, and then we'll kind of pull it up a little bit. I feel like they have a little bit of that white stripe right there, but that might actually be gray. I might have to use some cleverness here to pull that off. They are something called, I believe it's like counter something camouflage, where they're white on the bottom and black on top. And I've always heard that is because if you're swimming above them, they're basically invisible. And if you're swimming below them and you're looking up, it's light, like you would see the surface. So they're this really clever mix of almost no matter what direction you see them, they're going to be pretty well hidden. Come to think of it, that is the same color as like a tuxedo cat, which we have one of. But I don't think you'd see a tuxedo cat swimming or or hunting in that way. But perhaps. I guess that only works if you are below it and there is lightness above it. But yeah, I can't picture Charlemagne the Destroyer hunting salmon from the water. All right, so we're just adding a little bit of this in. You do cover up their eye, but they do have these cool eye spots. which I used to think that was their eye, but they're kind of like Venom from Spider-Man. You know, they have this kind of wild looking. They don't have a giant white eye, but it always kind of looked like they did, which I believe is also part of the idea. And then we're just adding. You can see these little bits. This is water now. Then I'm just adding, just to add some of that dimension, which is kind of a fun way to do it. It's the trick is just using less paint really. We're just working our way up, blending in as we need to, and we can always add more. Like I said, this is kind of just this one little layer, just gonna come to life right in front of your eyes. Look at that. How cool is that? Oh, love it. There might be some more of those little blooms and things like that. That's great. That's a cool thing. Now let's add the top. The dorsal fin is going to be dark. For some reason that always stands out. Probably because it's straight up and down and doesn't catch quite as much light. And these things can be massive. The males often have much bigger ones. Those males love to love to compare, but it's this kind of huge rudder almost in the air for them. So we're just going to be adding a little bit right there. I painted over it. I had a little bit of a kind of a white stripe in the back there, and I painted over it, which might have been a mistake. But we're just going for it now. A little bit of that gray line too, but even that is almost kind of like a wisp of smoke. And we're just kind of trying to make it look natural and flowy and free. There we go, a little bit right there. If you want to make it hunting anything, you can. They do some pretty aggressive stuff to other whales, but they're also hunters of salmon and all kinds of other stuff. And this is potentially from the J-pod here. They have, not here, but they have in the J-pod they have resident orcas and transient orcas. And so resident orcas just kind of live in a place. They do things like eat salmon, sea otters, tasty things. Transient orcas kind of follow things around, like whales. They might be a bit more aggressive on kind of hunting migratory things. Also, look at that light coming in. Hold on, let me go fix this if I can. Nope, guess not. We have light in Alaska now. How about that? There's been a long winter. and now it is coming back. So as this dries here, we'll be able to kind of see if we need to add any other little bits. But I just love where a lot of this is going. You can always add just a little bit of water too if you want to kind of soften an edge. Just add a little bit like that. It's kind of a nice way to do it. We still need to add that mouth in there with those little teeth. If you want to add teeth, now's a good time to do that. You can just come in and add just like a couple little teeth here and there, sharp pointy teeth. They are toothed whale, and we'll kind of just try to avoid some of those. An easier way to do it is probably just to get a little gel pen or something like that and add a little couple teeth right over afterwards. Okay, so this is so close to being done. We'll just add maybe a little bit of water right here, just to make that gray stripe a little bit more gray, something kind of like that. But you can see by adding just a little bit of that kind of blue, we kind of make it feel a little bit more accurate. All right, and now while that dries for 1 second, I'm gonna go cover this light, which I think is just pouring through the window over here. A nice thing normally. Don't mind me. So I return to the cave. But soon we're going to be working on the actual, we're going to work on the landscape that it's from. I feel like, let's see, is this dry yet? Oh yeah, we're dry. Let's do it. Okay, let's give this mouth a go. A little concerned. High pressure, high stakes. So we can zoom in further. No, that's as much as we can do. I'm not using anything too wild. It's just a pretty basic brush, but I've got it so that it's kind of nice and sharp because of just how much water I have on it. And just pure water too. I'm not painting with gin inside. In the winter, when I'm painting outdoors, I have to use gin instead of water because water would freeze. Painting orcas in this weather, I'd be using gin too if I was outside. And in Seward, they have some orcas right now. You know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to stick with those teeth. But if I can't do it, what I'm gonna switch to is just doing it with a gel pen a bit later. Yep, nope. Alright, we're just gonna fill in that mouth. And if I like it, I might just leave it too. They have big teeth, but like not so big that you can like see. There we go. What's really fun too is they're super smart animals, but they also like have funny habits too. I'll just add a little bit more of this dark just right in here. They have these really funny habits. Like there was this, I think researchers noticed like that some adolescent orcas were carrying salmon on their head, like they were swimming just like while pushing a salmon on their head. And it was, they're like, what is going on? It's like mourning behavior or something. And it's just like bored just teenagers just doing dumb stuff, They're still trying to figure out what's going on with the boats. There's a lot of orcas that were attacking yachts, which they might have just figured out who was the ones polluting their waterways. But there's like really, really interesting behaviors of all of these amazing animals. And there we go. Really quick orca. Lots I could do with the stripes and the color and all that, but from a basic perspective, it's really just a nice way to get a little bit of shading and just be able to kind of capture a whale in motion. But these are the kind of animals that you could keep on painting them forever and never really get too bored. And I'd highly advise it too, because just the dynamicness and the motion is so, so, so cool. Now, while I let this dry just for a second, let's move on to a landscape that they're in. So in several of these, we're just kind of painting where they're from. I'm going to do this one right here, which looks like I got a little bit of paint on there. Not quite sure what happened, but that's okay. I'm just going to scoot this up, zoom up right here, and we're going to paste our orca probably right here. In fact, I might just grab a little bit of tape right now, and let's do that, and then let's paint where it's from. For me, this matters on a couple levels. One, landscapes are really fun. But two, a lot of times I think there's this emphasis on the critter, whether it's a manatee or an orca or a kingfisher or a stellar, any of those, any bird or anything like that. But we forget that like those animals can't exist without their homes. And we'll love an animal, we'll see it in a zoo, we'll do everything we can, but we won't protect its home. So I think it's kind of important to sketch the home as well. But also kind of realize where they come from. Like a lot of the birds you might see in your backyard are like living half the year in Alaska in places that might be under threat. So it's the more I learn, the more I appreciate all of the places, the swamps, the mangroves, the tundra that actually house the birds and the animals and the bugs and the insects that actually make any of this possible. So we're going to sketch, I am going to sketch Bellingham just because I've seen orcas there before, I believe, and it's very cool. So we're going to do a little sketch. I'm going to start by just doing a big box. This is how I start a lot of my sketches. It's a quick way, especially with landscapes where you never quite know where to begin. It's a quick way just to get 4 lines onto a sheet of paper, which can be great because those lines can be a little terrifying otherwise. And I'm not going to pencil anything out really, but we're going to just, how are we going to do this here? We're going to add, let's see, we'll do like Larrabee or something like that. Here, we're going to have a little bit of just some of this, kind of a cove. This is where I feel I see a lot of sea otters and stuff like that. And where you see sea otters, you kind of know orcas are on their way. And we're just going to scoot this right over here. Put some trees on the shore. This is kind of where I'm picturing the orcas in these bays. They don't always come into Bellingham. They're orcas. They're going to do what they want. But They do occasionally, and these bays are vital because they provide these sanctuaries for a lot of what they eat, whether it's salmon or any of these other things. Is this idea of the Salish Sea in Bellingham and beyond, which is that from the bottom of Puget Sound to the top of Mount Baker is kind of one ecosystem. So I'm going to put Mount Baker in here too. It's a very cool mountain. I've climbed it once, maybe twice, but really cool volcano. Massive thing that you can often see rising above the hills. So we're just going to add a little bit of that. There we go. And then let's put a big old tree, I think, in here too. Pine trees are easy. You kind of just, like, honestly, you can just imagine, put a pole right down and then just sort of layer, almost like zigzag yourself like that, and you're gonna get a pine tree. There we go. And then right in this corner, far off, we'll just put a little orca, just like that. Just a tiny one, maybe with a little baby down here. Ta-da! All right, it's that simple. These kind of landscapes, I feel like you don't need to. The pen lines are fun, but like you don't even need to do cross hatching. If you want, you can just add a little bit of texture, something like that. Maybe there's maybe a little bit more over here, but it doesn't need to be perfect. Should we put a person in here? Oh, let's put a person. Why not? A little tiny. Oh, gotta make him a bit bigger, I suppose. There we go. Little tiny person. We'll give him a backpack. Little hiker just coming out to watch the orcas. There we go. Okay, now let's add some color. So for the Mount Baker side, that is going to be pretty simple, and we're kind of just going to run through this here. Like I said, the first half is to make it, the second half is to ruin it. And now I'm looking at my orca, I'm kind of wondering, I might just add a touch more lamp black. Pretty good. I'm pretty good at ruining paintings too, so you should stop me. Somebody stop me. Okay, a little bit of some water now, just over the top. There we go, and that should create a nice little gradient. You can always go back and add layers. Okay, we're gonna do Mount Baker here. Similar things to an orca, aside from the, name. But we're going to add a little bit here. Actually, Baker is not the original name. The original name of a lot of these mountains is not used, which it should be. Like Rainier, which is a big mountain in the Pacific Northwest, is named after a guy, Peter Rainier, who is quite a dorky looking dude. Like, actually, this is embarrassing. Let me show you. This is, any idea? Like, Peter Rainier was just a friend of Vancouver's. Peter Rainier. All right. This is one of the most important mountains in the Pacific Northwest. Its original name means like the mother waters, and Vancouver's like, no, we're gonna name it after this guy. That's Rainier, which is why they often want to use the real name. I'm trying to think of the other side, which is Tahoma or Tacoma. So if you like Tacoma, Washington, that's where that name comes from. But the mountain should be called Tahoma or Tacoma, which does mean kind of the mother waters, and just the amount of water that comes off of these glaciers and then ends up in the streams, down the rivers, feeding the salmon habitat. It all matters a ton. And I'm just seeing, I don't remember who Baker was, but the original name that's been called for far longer than whatever Baker was is Colshan, which is definitely gonna be more meaningful. All right, a little bit of some more blues just up here, just to kind of like get that shade of some kind. Maybe I'll even add a bit of purple or something like that in there. If you want somebody who knows how to paint the Pacific Northwest, especially the landscapes, definitely be sure to check out Claire Giordano. really, really, really amazing Pacific Northwest painter who has a Venture Art Academy and like the best Pacific Northwest Alpenglow watercolorist out there, I think. Okay, a little bit of this, a little bit of purples, but I'm just going to give it a go. And we're going to let that kind of move and bleed into that. Totally fine. There we go. Now down here, while we let that dry, that's okay if it cuts into the next layer, that's totally fine. We'll let that dry. Let's add a little bit of our water down here. Be similar colors. Take a little bit of blues. My paper's a bit of a mess because it looks like I must have spattered something on there earlier. So I'll just be painting through that, but that's okay. I'm just going to add a little bit of my blues here. This is cerulean blue, which is kind of a nice sky blue, but it works great for this water. You can also add a touch of that kind of darker blue, maybe a Prussian or a ultramarine or something like that. Got a little bit in here. Or if you want, you can even add a touch of green. Water is really so much more dynamic than we usually give it credence for. So I like to use a little bit of everything. Working in there. There we go, a little bit more of that blue. Maybe even a bit of that purple in there too. The nice thing about using kind of a limited palette is that the colors you're using will all kind of work together, and it's fine to kind of, you know, this water will match the mountain, which will match the sky, which will match everything, and that's kind of how it is too. It all reflects off each other. So I like to kind of lean into that sometimes. It's also cheaper. So that's never a bad thing. Okay, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. That is looking lovely. With the tree, if we want, we can make that dark, or we can make that kind of light and then use this to sort of carve it out. Probably not going to do that in this case because I think that like the atmospheric kind of haze, that's always what I think of when I think of kind of these Bellingham views. What I might do is I might add a little bit more of my tree though. Something like this. And why don't we put an eagle or something up there as well? Not a big one. They're going to be about this big here. Put a bald eagle. And bald eagles, they had a real issue with there's a chemical called DDT. It basically made, it was a pesticide, and they put it on everything and everywhere, but it made their eggs too soft, so they kind of crush them. And there's a real concern that we'd basically run out of bald eagles here in America, which they didn't like very much. And they actually ended up creating, after a book called The Silent Spring, the EPA and like a lot of legislation, which was not a political thing back in the day. I think a lot of Republicans are the ones who actually pushed a lot of big environmental conservation issues, and a lot of those are being stripped away right now, which doesn't just affect eagles. It could affect everything from orcas and the food they eat, and then eventually us. But it is interesting that all it takes is one solution, like trying to save an eagle or something like that, to affect everything. Just how, like the Salish Sea, it connects eagles and orcas, like everything from the top of Mount Baker to the bottom of Puget Sound. It's all kind of connected in that, and I think that's something I kind of keep on trying to remember. Something that hurts one thing is going to hurt everything, but in the same way, something that helps one thing has the potential to help everything, which is daunting, but important, you know? Okay, now I'm just going to feel along here, see if anything's still wet. It looks like we're pretty dry. So I'm going to give this a go. We could do a pure blue sky. I don't know if those exist in Bellingham, so I think I'm going to add some clouds. And we'll add some fun clouds, though. I'm going to add a little bit of some light blue to my dark that I have from the Orca there. And I'm just gonna put a little bit like this. I might put a little bit down here too. Something right in here. Maybe I'll even put a touch up here. These probably don't look like clouds, but you'll see they are going to become clouds. It's very cool here in 1 second. So added those. Now, pure water, just rinse stuff off. And we're gonna add just a little bit into this. We're gonna pull it up. Just adding this water to the edge. Scooting it up just like this. This guy's a little scary because you kind of have to do them all at once, but it's gonna work, you'll see. I hope. I actually have no idea. So you got a little bit up here, just like that. Might even soften up some of the bottoms. Because clouds do have this, they have something that's gonna be slightly darker. So that's what we're adding right now, is that kind of like that heavy rain-laden base. And Bellingham is nothing but familiar with rain. And of course, at any time, if you need to come back, pause, re-see any of this, there's no shame in not trying to do something all at once. It is okay. Also, maybe you need to try a few times, and that is totally okay too. Now I'm adding in some of my blue here. And what I don't add is going to become cloud now. So watch this. So if I add a little bit down here, this is now all cloud. See? Isn't that cool? I'll try again over here. So I'm just going to scoot around and over. Maybe add a little bit of some water to kind of connect that, because the beauty of clouds is sometimes they're floofy and sometimes they're not, and it's that like that breaking of those hard edges that actually makes it cool, but then they still exist. Look at that. You can see that? It's a little bit overexposed there, but like, you know, cloud. I'll make that just a tiny bit dark so you can kind of see. Whoops. Just break everything here. Got to keep on moving fast though, because like I said, it needs to be kind of all within the same, kind of needs to all happen at the same time. But we still create a pretty cool thing here. Okay, a little bit up here, avoiding the mountain, which will be the brightest thing, aside from some of these cloud pieces. And just like that. There we have some really cool clouds just kind of soaking up the sky. Isn't that neat? Bellingham is not like normally sort of more the flat Seattle, just white cloud, so potentially it would be more accurate if I just left it entirely blank. Also, there's a little tiny piece of like water spatter. I'm not sure how I messed up this page earlier, but I'm going to turn that into an eagle a bit later on. Hold me to that. All right, so we've got our clouds, we've got our trees, we've got our little orca right down there, leaning into them being part of the environment as a whole, because they definitely steal the show, but it's pretty cool how they connect all of that. And I'm grabbing some purple and some brown, and I'm just going to add a little bit of these mountain pieces up here. It's not all pure snow. Even Alaska, we have a little bit of everything. All right, a little bit of that brown in there. Just adding those layers. Just piece by piece, something like that. Avoiding that sky a little bit. I probably should have waited till that's a bit more dry, but we'll just add a little bit over here. Isn't that cool? That just kind of brings it to life. I love so much the way, just like a couple little brush strokes. Maybe you can add a bit of green or some blues in here now, just to make it look like it's not all dirt. And I do think it did turn out well. Yeah, it's as an orca. Now that I'm looking at it, I'll add a couple more teeth once it's fully dry. And no matter how much it looks like this section is never going like quite, so maybe I should just take the hint and not kind of try to keep on adding pieces. But I do like how it's turning out. I think there's something to it. I'm just gonna add just a little bit of some spatter in here. That's where you take, you know, a pretty watery brush and you just go whoopah, like that. This is a good time to do it because you can add just a little bit of some spatter. All of this will be covered up. So if it goes where I don't want it to go, I can just quickly kind of fix it really fast and call that good. So we'll let that dry with this guy just a little bit. Next, we're going to kind of add these little layers in. Add a couple in here now. Why not? We'll add these little layers in piece by piece. But while we're waiting, let's jump over here and maybe add a little bit of our kind of rocky outcropping. We'll zoom in too if you want to kind of see it. See the details here. So for this case, we're going to use some brown. And I'm just going to kind of add some brown and then work darker and darker and darker as we go in. Rocks are actually kind of rarely, depending on where you are, this kind of color of brown. But if you mix brown and let's see. Oh. If you mix brown and a little bit of this, let's see, where am I trying to go to here? Okay, if you mix brown and a bit of blue, you kind of get a nice sort of rocky outcropping color. One of the nice things is that we're going to kind of fill this in a little bit later, so it's okay to kind of just get a bit of a light layer. That's all we really need. Bit of purple in there too, because I'm not sure why it was on my brush. Might be a mistake. We'll find out. A little bit of some brown in here too. Lovely. I can almost hear the sound of the water. That is a good sign. It either means two things. One, you're going nuts, or your painting is turning out well. And they're not mutually exclusive. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, I'm going to toss this down just to see if I can dry it off just really quick for 1 second. Okay, and we are just going to be adding, whoops, just trying to dry that off just a little bit. But I'm really excited too about being able to take people into the field for that. We do live streams a few times a week, and for so many of, you know, like these, just looking at some of these loose sketches, like it's so fun to be able to do some of these like in the studio, but to be able to show the process is so cool, to be able to take you outside to be able to do that. All that being said, it is such a great learning experience to do in the studio. If you've ever wanted to make a sketch like this in the field, which is such a cool thing, or you know, maybe you see any of these animals or something like that and want to quickly get a sketch and be able to make it from that memory, that is amazing. I've been so lucky to be able to do a lot of that here in Alaska, but I just want to express that a lot of the learning happens inside, and that's okay. You know, I always feel like there's this idea that the only thing people like show is them doing this amazing stuff outside, but what they don't show is they probably practiced flowers or whatever hundreds of times in a nice warm studio with a cup of tea and no pressure, and messed up paper after paper after paper after paper after paper, and that's okay. That's all right. Okay, so we are going to be adding this right here. Let's see how dry that is. That's dry enough. It'll do, because right here we're now just going to kind of add layer after layer right here. Step one, it's going to be this layer. It's going to be mostly blue. So I'm just going to add a little bit of blue and maybe green, but I can add that on it as well. So here's some blue. Here's a little bit of green. We'll kind of let those mix on the palette. That's one of my favorite parts of watercolor, is it kind of knows what to do. You just sort of need to introduce them. And we're just adding a little bit here and a little bit there. And absolutely fine for these to kind of intersect. A little bit more blue, right up toward the edge. Right there. Beautiful. Beautiful. And feel free to add a bit of water too if you want kind of a cool bloom. You can lean into that effect. Especially with these things, I feel like they get kind of the further away they get, the more sort of ooh, that's too much green. All right, we're gonna have to deal with this. Sorry. So much of a painting is just trying not to ruin it. which would be simpler if I didn't exist. Okay, there we go. All of this is going to be filled in, so I'm just kind of spreading out the love a little bit. All right, while we're working on that, waiting for that to dry, we're going to move down. We're just kind of bouncing from spot to spot to spot to spot. Here's our little person. We're going to give him somewhere to sit. Maybe add a bit more of that brown right down here. And then we'll come in with something a little darker. Just starting. Now a little bit of this. There we are. Bit of blue maybe, but we'll make them a silhouette sort of. So we'll add a little bit of that in here. That might have been too dark. On second thought, probably shouldn't have done this quite yet. I think I have some more work on the water, but that's okay. There we go. Okay, something kind of like this. Now for the water itself, there's a couple fun ways you can do it. You could add like individual if you want some reflections of some kind. Maybe you want to do a little bit of brown or something. You can just kind of add some of these. You can always add a bit of some scrapies. It's called dry brushing. And you can also switch it up by adding some other colors next to it. So we could start with say like brown and then dry brush into some blues or some purples. But really it's just whatever texture you think would be interesting and nice. There we go, something kind of like that. Maybe as we get closer it gets bluer. All right. But further up, if you want that dry brushing technique, all you got to do is you're just grabbing, let's go over here so you can kind of see, you're just grabbing a little bit of some texture, probably a little bit of something like this. You get it just right, and you're just going to kind of scrape across. And that's going to kind of get that cool look as if there's waves way out there. Kind of depends on the paper you're using too. And if you get a little too heavy like that one right there, just add some water, smooth it right out. Just like that. It's simple. It's kind of a test. And if it doesn't work, yeah, just fix it. It'll be fine. All right. So we got all of those. Zoom out just a little bit here. We are making a home for our orca. It just takes all of this stuff. Okay, I did say I was going to add that eagle up here. Maybe let's do that now while we're waiting. A little bit of an eagle. No, we got to do all the eagles all at once. I think that's the only way to do it. Right? Yeah. Okay, we're going to do all the eagles all at once. So I'm going to toss it back under. more drying. It does speed things up. If you live in like a nice warm place or something like that, then just the speed at which you have to do watercolors is totally different. But if you live somewhere that's a little colder or a little bit less dry, you just kind of have to use what you can use to find your dry. But if you live near the equator, oh my gosh, some of those humid places, good luck ever letting watercolors dry. It's like living in a shower. Another kind of fun thing to do while that dries is if you have the chance, tiny little sketchbooks like this can be a ton of fun to be able to sketch like one thing a bunch of times. Here's a bunch of little tiny Iditarod sled dogs that I sketched from the start of the Iditarod. But this kind of repetition is really great. There's something about knots. They say if you can't tie knots, tie lots. And it can kind of be the same with watercolor. So for instance, like say you're doing some of the backyard animals and you try to do like a flying squirrel or something like that. And you don't love how it turned out, but you love flying squirrels. Try doing like 30 of them. Because for some reason, one bad drawing is a bad drawing. But if you make that same drawing another 40 times, it's a great drawing. And I'm not even talking about like you're going to be a good artist by the end. There's something beautiful about even something that feels sketchy and all of them kind of next to each other. So the orcas perhaps in different positions as they swim, almost kind of putting that motion into something is a really, really, really fun way to kind of bring all of it to life. Okay. Feeling for, dry enough. We'll give it a go. So this next stage is we're just gonna add something slightly darker, but we're gonna leave a lot of room here for some of these to be much darker. And I'll show you what I mean by that in just 1 second. So we're gonna go up here and we're gonna add some water right here. This is just water, it's clear. That's just gonna kind of hold our place because we're gonna make it dark in 1 second. You'll see why. A little bit of water right there. Next, I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna mix a little bit of some blue and probably a bit of green, and looks like I have a bit of black there too. That's gonna be my kind of darker foresty mix, kind of creating some of that kind of lush darker green. We're gonna let that sink right down here. There we go. So just enough of that so that when we connect to our water, which we're going to do right now, creates this kind of misty, far off, mountainy effect. Something like that. That was a little bit too much water on this one, but you get the idea. You even kind of add a bit more down here if you need. There we are. And as that dries, it's going to create kind of an interesting effect, but it's kind of this, like, you kind of layering it, but the less information you put, almost the better. It's funny like that. I don't know why. Okay, adding a little bit more up here. There we go. And we're going to try to lean into some of those cool kind of water effects. We'll see what happens. While that's doing its thing, let's add a couple little bits down here. I'll zoom right in for you. This all technically does have something to do with orcas. There they are right there. We'll let them in right at the end. Let's get some rocks perhaps in there. So we're going to add maybe a little bit of some rock, maybe a bit of purple, a little bit of brown. And for rocks, the trick is you paint what's not there. So here we'll basically add a couple little loose semi rocks, but I'm basically doing an outline around them. Something kind of like that. There we go. And it's a 3-step process. First, you get kind of your light. Next, you just get a little bit of something darker, kind of like this. And just toss in a little bit of some water. So we're just going to kind of smooth out some of those areas above and below. You see how that's going to come into life? Kind of makes it a bit of a pile now. Always add a little bit more of this. But soon, when it's dry, then we're going to add like the darker section, and it's going to feel more realistic. Isn't that wild? It's just like, it's what you don't paint that counts. I feel like there's a lesson about life in there, but we're too into it for me to philosophize. Okay, a little bit of this, just because, and then a touch of something dark. I'm actually just going to add our little reflection. Seeing where a tree is coming down. I'm just going to add a couple. Basically, you're just adding a little bit of where the tree was, but then you're kind of just catching the waves or something like that. It's simple, but it does the trick. And then we're just waiting for this to dry, and then we can do our tree in just a moment. But let's add our tiny person while we're at it, 'cause why not? You can make them whatever color you want. I usually make people red, just because they pop. I love a little bit of that pop of color. And people aren't the focal point always. We like to put ourselves in there, but we are part of the landscapes too. I think that's important to see. Like we often think of ourselves as other, but people have often almost always been part of these landscapes. We just have an outsized impact a lot of times. So we'll add a little person there, put some legs in there, 'cause why not? I'll give them some hair. There we are. And now we're down to just really the orca, the tree, the eagle, And this last little piece here. So back into the heater it goes. It doesn't take long. Patience is also a fine thing, and this is a lot of times why I'll work on a few paintings at once. If you ever see some of the lives or like the real big ones where I'm painting a lot of stuff, I'll often have, I'll have like 1 or 2 or 3 sort of paintings at once, that while I'm working on the antlers, I'm letting the fox dry, and then while I let the antlers dry, I'm working on the marten's ears. Or there's a sweet spot in watercolor where too many sketches is just too many to work on, but I often find it's like 1 or 2 paintings is like the perfect amount, which is also why I love sort of the nature journal study page sort of concept. So when you're listening to somebody talk, the idea of kind of these journal pages, they feel so much more full in a lot of ways, but I just love that you'll be able to let this dry while you're working on something else. And that's sort of in the field, this is how that represents itself for me is, I don't have time to like let stuff dry because I'm only going to get a really quick break before people insist that I kind of keep on going. So this is a really fun, I think a fun way to kind of do a few things at once, especially in the field. Let's see if this is dry yet. Give it a little look. Well, that did something. That's still a little bit wet, but that's all right. I think we're just dry enough that we can probably work on our eagle. Nope, still too wet. That's okay. Let's try. Should we try this? Worst case scenario, it just kind of mixes into itself. Let's give this a go. And while we're doing that, hopefully that dries. Okay, right in here, we're gonna mix together just a little bit of probably some blue, a little bit of some purple maybe, a touch of green. Give all of this kind of a mix. It's going to be the darkest of the landscape pieces. It's not going to be pure black, but it's going to be darker. So we're just kind of mixing all of these colors together with just a sprig of water. And we're just going to kind of move that in, adding the little kind of beveled edges of a close forest that you can kind of see. So a little bit of that here. There we go. And we'll go right along the edge here, because why not? Something like that. You can also add just a little bit to the base if you want to, so you can always kind of just do a little bit right to the bottom, and then just fill the rest in with water. And I'm just going to let this connect, and it's going to create kind of a cool effect. A lot of times the effects that just happen naturally with watercolor are better than any design you could ever come up with, so don't feel like you need to come up with anything new. The water knows what it's doing. In all things, but also in watercolor. Got a little bit right there. And there you have it. There we go. All right. Now that we have that, let's add just the last little details. That's getting really close, really close. So let's add our little eagle, which is, at this scale, just a kind of a little brown dot. There we are, and eagle, done. You don't even have to paint in the head because it's a bald eagle. And then we're going to add some green of our tree. The tree is going to be done in a few layers. So the first one is just a little bit of some green, like this. And we'll come back in and add some of those darker layers here in just one moment. But we're kind of just stacking some of those little zigzags that we added earlier. By no means does that have to be perfect. It's really just a loose thing right there. Then just maybe a touch of blue, something nice and simple. Here we go, and we're going to come in and we're going to add some much darker branches here in just a second. Just put a couple, little trees or something like that in here. There we go. Told you, it's coming right together. Might even add some other layers here into those rocks. I said it could be 3 layers. 2 layers works just fine. 3 layers, you can get a nice sense of depth here. So I've got some kind of nice dark colors. So I can now add in just kind of basically what I did earlier. on some of those real sharp spots. Honestly, now that I've done this, I kind of like how it was. So you can either blot it out or you can kind of blend it in. Those are sort of your two options there. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of some water and just see if I can kind of blot that out. Sometimes if a flavor is not one that you like, you might like it diluted a little bit. So we're gonna do the same thing here. And do know too, with watercolor, everything dries lighter. So it's okay it's absolutely okay to kind of think you're going too dark, because chances are you're not. It'll actually dry much lighter. Yeah, that looks absolutely fine. I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, and then just a tiny bit of some brown right up on the top. Gotta get those branches. One there. One there. One there. One here. And then if you're feeling wild and crazy, you can just add a little bit more blue, maybe a touch of black or something like that, and just give some shady tree kind of texture and just a little bit more life here, something like that. Kind of the bottom of these branches, maybe add a couple more in the back, something like that. There you go. And then, of course, the last little bit, just mixing up some dark right here. A little orca in the background. Second little orca. Touch of water to blend those together. And there you have it. We have a really, really fun little sketch of an orca from J-Pod, or maybe Big's transient pod, but I think J-Pod. Oh, forgot my little tiny eagle. Here, just put a wing on there. One wing, two wing. There we go. We'll call those ravens. And you have an orca in a landscape in the entire Salish Sea of what it takes to kind of sustain all of those pieces all together. That is a really fun one. And if you're feeling wild and crazy too, you can always put some little tiny teeth on your orca. I don't know if that's gonna work out actually. Let me see. Here's the real test. Nope, kind of feels a little hillbilly-ish. It'll be okay. It'll all work out. You can always kind of blend out a little bit if you need. Amazing. Well, I can't wait to sketch all the rest of these. And if you get a chance, definitely let us know how they turned out. You can find us on our Discord. You can find us on our email, our newsletter, all kinds of things. We love, love, love to see what you came up with and hear your stories about orcas too. So send those on over and look forward to sketching all of the rest together soon. Okay, and there's the YouTube portion. So now that's what we'll be able to toss on YouTube. So if you want that, you'll be able to find it anytime on YouTube, just for you. That actually turned out pretty okay. The orca, I'm still not quite sure how I feel about the teeth. What do you think about these? They feel like a little bit... not terrible. Let me see. Maybe if I add like one more on the top or something. But not... yeah, I don't know. I've been part of a recovery. I mean, the orca was gone. It was a dead orca. I think it was just an older one. But they wanted to do a necropsy, and I was just there as like a hired hand to move things. So they ended up bringing it back to be part of a museum. So it basically got stripped of everything, and an orca skull is wild looking. It's like a dinosaur. It's like not bulbous. Like all this is not there. It's like looks like like a huge crocodile or something. It's pretty crazy. And then there's our little sketch right there. Ah, fun. That was a good one. I like that. Let me check here how these are doing. I might have lost one of the streams. I feel like that happens sometimes. Just scoot this over here. And you'll be able to, at any point, just keep on tracking these down. They'll be on the YouTube. It'll be on our website and all those kind of things. And you don't think the teeth take away from it? Oh, good. Okay. Well, when I look at it from far away, I'm like, what was I thinking? But when I look at it up close, I like it. But I feel like that's just watercolors in general. You know, like you get too into it, and you're like, what is this? And then you look at it from far away, and you're like, wow, who made that? That's pretty normal. And yes, let's see. I'm gonna have to go run in here and I think help out Eve. Maybe we can get some lunch for the kiddos there. But I can't wait to be able to share more of these. This has just been a really fun project, and there are 24 of these, so I just like there's just something so nice. Like, look at them start to come to life. These I need to probably shouldn't have penned those in. These are from a different project, but I can start a new book and just sort of start continuing those backyard animals. There's our kingfisher. That I'm really excited about. We had some really cool on the Discord channel, some really cool paintings of that one. Silas made a really, really cool one. That was just so fun. There we go. Oh, what was that sound? Cat or child? Please hold. Ah, good. Very small snow shovelers. Perfect. Okay. Well, unless there's any questions, I'll bid you all adieu. I'll say goodbye to YouTube here, and then on the Twitch front, let's go raid somebody. But I will be around Tuesday. Let's see. I'm actually going to Bellingham. So next week's streaming days might be a little bit all over the place. We'll see. We're going to try some interesting stuff. Speaking of Bellingham, it was definitely on the mind. So that's probably why I did that there. I'm going to Bellingham to film a race with this wild accordion notebook style. So so I'll be there then. We'll see how it is. It's going to be a wild and crazy time. Streaming, normally we try to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday should be good, but who knows exactly what the plan is on that one. So we will be trying it out, see how it all goes. And so might be a bit unpredictable, but I might be able to make some really cool stuff in a different location. So we'll try that out. Who knows? Maybe I'll see an orca. You never know. But yes, if you want, definitely make sure to stay tuned for that, and I'll see you all next week at some